sponsored by CanadianModelRailroad.ca and by donations from patrons like you.
Further support provided by the biggest little hobby shop in Winnipeg, Frogs and Diamond.
And now on with the show with your hosts, Peter and Joe.
Well, Peter, what time it is?
It's train time.
Episode 56, Season 5, November 2024.
That's right.
Right.
Yes.
And we're going somewhere this time.
We're going to the UK.
Good. So you made a good trip with your brother.
Yeah, made a trip with my brother and his wife to the UK to visit our cousin, 95-year-old
Well, there you go.
cousin, and he had, we were up in Scotland as well. He had a get-together with masons. He's a mason out in St. Albert, and they had a joint thing with a group in Scotland. So, and then of course in between we had to take in some railway stuff.
Perfect.
So,
and also, Peter, what is nice to mention, the viewer, last show number 55 was very popular with our viewer. Terry Wolf really did a beautiful thing.
His G-scale, yeah.
Yeah, and they were happy to see what happened upstairs.
Yes.
But also we got to tell the public that next month is kind of special too, because we'll be on location at our sponsor, Frog and Diamond, and give you some idea about some Christmas gift.
Yes. We'll have to do that one early enough.
Yep.
Yeah.
So let's go and see what happened in the UK. Peter, tell us about the UK.
Well, we had a number of different sites that we went to. One of them, and I've got this little pamphlet here. I'll just hold that up. This was a steam train, and North Yorkshire Moors Railway, and it runs from Whitby to Pickering. And the line is also connected with the regular, but this is an excursion train similar to what we have here in Manitoba with Prairie Dog. So we were able to catch this rail system, and there's some footage and some still shots of that one. So hopefully everybody enjoys that segment.
Did you see a big difference between the American and British?
Well, the big thing over there, of course, is that active rails they're high speed, fairly high speed. There's we'll get into another segment where we've got some footage of regular trains as opposed to these excursion trains. But overall, I mean, like this one that we're going to be looking at, like I said, very similar to the Prairie Dog. You know, it's an excursion train. It goes a certain distance and comes back. And I mean, there was tons of people there watching this thing. Never mind the ones that were actually in the coaches.
Open the injector.
Is that a steam?
That was steam. That's a steam.
Into the boiler.
Yeah.
Now, as you said that, you also had museum.
Now we're ready.
In the museum, were they way back in history to now? Or?
Well, one of the museums that we went to, and I have this pamphlet, this locomotion museum, and that was at Stilton. Just have to check my notes here. Shilton, not Stilton, Shilton. But this one was huge. It was obviously supported by government funds because it was two huge buildings, one of which had at least 7 sidings inside it. And as you see from the pictures and that, I mean, these sidings are not little short things that only hold a couple of locomotives. There was like 10, 12 of them down.
That's comparable to the one in Delson.
Yes. Yeah, to be along that line. That one also, you'll see in the video on that one, we got to ride on it's a little back and forth run that they have. It's a steam coal-fired replica of the Stevenson rocket. And it has a couple of little open carriages, and you ride up and down the line on this. So we got some really good footage of riding that at this locomotion museum. Then also at the locomotion museum, there's a second building, not quite as big, but it has probably 4 or 5 sidings in it, and they're full of all kinds of different equipment from steam all the way up to diesel.
Okay.
So, and there's some of the coaches that you see in the pictures, like wood siding, and they're with the royal crests and stuff on them. It's just amazing. So, like, enjoy the footage on locomotion as well.
Yeah. So you took many shots as far as how picturesque it was,
Yep.
down there. Now I always find myself when I look at the English train,
Yeah.
they don't seem to have the characters of the American trains. They don't look the same.
Well, the more modern ones, they really look quite a bit different than the American trains. Yes, the steam ones, other than a few different characteristics, they're similar, but there are definitely European differences. Like the bumper.
Yes.
That they have on all of the English, the old English cars and locomotives is different than what we have here.
Well, it has a lot to do with the couplers.
That's a different system of coupling, yes. But the operation of them is very similar. Of course, coal-fired steam. And the more modern ones, like I said, are high speed. A lot of them are electric until you get out into the country, and then
The diesel.
they're diesel. We stayed at one place when we were in Darlington, visiting my cousin, and that is Hallgarth Hotel, and it was an old farm estate that had been converted into a hotel. The stables were sort of a spa, and just a short walk away from that, my brother and I were able to get some very good footage of modern trains, and you'll see from the videos on that, and that was electrified still. And that line was a main line that ran from London up to the north of England. And I was on this, you walk up this little narrow country road that's lined with stone walls, and you're standing on top of an arched stone bridge over top of the railway tracks. And I think in about 40 minutes, from the video, I got 6 or 7 trains on it. A couple of them were like freight hauling, it looked like gravel or maybe ballast, and the rest were either short, like interurban type trains, or the longer trains that would be, say, running from London all the way to the end of the line type of
You
things.
had mixed freight, you had passengers,
Yeah.
you had, interurban trains, and so it's a good mix.
And it was, and it's funny, on this old stone bridge, there's a sign there, warning you that below is electrified overhead wires, not so.
Wow.
But and that was a really nice experience. Like I said, in about 40 minutes.
Any specific cars or engine that really attract you to time you went?
Yeah, their freight cars are different. Different shape than ours. Like it's hard to describe. Like I can't really say that something like stood out in my mind, but all of their freight cars are slightly different. Even some like hopper cars or covered hoppers. They're into container cars as well, but again, a different style of car than what we have here.
Will they be like we just don't have, like on the old days, the 40 footers with a different size of car now? Are they comparable size wise as far as length is concerned that we have here?
I think the ones that we did see, like the current freight cars that I saw, they're not as long as ours. That was the impression that I got. Like the ones that were gravel, I mean, they were a hopper, but they weren't. I don't think they were as big as what ours were.
But the intermodal that they got for containers, probably
The ones
similar.
The ones that we did see, and it's in one of the videos, it's just single containers, not like our double stackers.
Oh yeah.
And the train that I did see with containers on it was only like, I don't know, 8 or 10 cars.
Wow.
So it's, whether it be just location. That was when we were up in Scotland. Steam trains, excursion trains we saw, and that runs on a separate. line. They have the old station and the active main line station, and that video we have both of them. We have an excursion train, plus we have a regular train come through in the station. And there was a freight train there, but it was only like 10 cars long, and I don't know whether they were just switching or
Could be a local one.
yeah. So they do rely a lot more on rail service in the UK in general. I mean, certainly passenger service is, I mean, way ahead of what we've got here.
Well, I think the railroad in England and Scotland has always been.
Oh, yeah, it's always, we could take a few lessons.
How comfortable their trains are when you take a trip in there in comparison to maybe what we have in here.
Well, you have to keep in mind that regular passenger train service, and when you see videos of, you know, how fast those trains are going, I mean, the seating and stuff in them has to be comfortable. The road beds are immaculate and well maintained. You don't have all of the level railway crossings that you have here. You either have overpasses for cars, or the trains are on overpasses. And in fact, one of the videos that I have is this Yarm Viaduct. It's still in use by the British Rail. It's a massive structure. You'll see from the pictures and the video. But it was built in 1848, and it opened in 1852, and it's still being used. And one of the photos I got actually had a commuter train on it. But this thing, I mean, it goes for hundreds of feet.
You said 1852.
1852 it opened, and it's a
19th century.
brickwork viaduct, and it just it's elevated above everything, and I forget the number of feet, but it's hundreds and hundreds of feet, this thing. And we were very fortunate to catch the photo with the commuter train on it. It's still in use today on British Rail. Yeah.
Well, that is an interesting piece of history.
You know, it's,
I don't know how many American or Canadian have an interest in the English railroad,
Yeah.
but all the people that I have talked with, or I will say majority of the people we have talked with, when we talk about model railroading,
Yeah.
right? They're not inclined to go with the British trains as much as the American trains. But when you talk to somebody that is in Europe, they are more inclined to get with the American train than modeling their own.
yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's kind of weird in some ways.
It's
right?
funny that way, yeah.
You
When it
look
comes
at-
to modeling, yeah.
you look at a guy like Seabold or something like that.
Yeah.
I know that guy was writing for a model railroader,
Yeah.
if I remember. Is from somewhere in Europe, I think it's Germany, making trip in the south, of the United States to model in a prototypical way American train
railroad,
where he
yeah.
is,
Yeah. Yeah.
You also have a girl that had a podcast in England,
Mhm.
I think it's London, that modeled both,
Mhm.
modeled the English
Yep.
and the American,
Yep.
So,
I think the problem that we have here with modeling in the European style, and years ago in our train club we had a couple of guys that had like European, and it was the flanges were the wheels on them
Were different.
were much deeper than what the flanges on our American cars were, or Canadian cars. And that always was a problem with the trackage that we were using. So I don't know whether.
But the club was using 100, code 100
Yeah,
all across.
that's right. So I guess if you were modeling in the European style, you would either, like you say, we were using 100 rail, but I guess you'd have to really look for the European rail to get the proper height because of the flanges on the models.
Or you did have to change the wheel
Or
if that is applying.
If it's if you're able to, maybe that's the other option. But then you might run into problems between locomotives and rolling stock.
Yeah, but there's also some of the rolling stock when you refer to the clubs that wear proper tracks.
Yes.
Because those wheels were pretty standard all across.
Yeah.
But even at that, the percentage of modelers that model UKs or England rolling stock and locomotives are rare.
Yeah.
You don't. If you go to show in North America, you don't see many of those models.
No, it's all North American type stuff. Yeah.
And yes, they got some distinctive element on them. The diesel, well, they're definitely way different.
Yeah. If you're modeling in the UK, and when we were in Avamore, I came across a really kind of neat hobby shop. It said model and tea shop.
Oh.
And went in to check this out. And you walked into the front of the store, and there was tables set up, and you could sit and have a cup of tea. And in the back was the hobby store. And when I went back and looked there, I mean, everything, well, not everything, most of it, 99% of it was European type rolling stock locomotives. So, I mean, if you're modeling in the UK, it's easier, I guess, to model in that type of.
Well, because most of the European, anything was American, they order from the United States. Like we'll order something in the country.
So, I think it kind of depends on where you're living, that what you're gonna.
And modeling wise also, their buildings that they got, their building kits in comparison of the American building kit are also different.
Are different, yeah.
They're more ordered in some ways than others.
Well, yeah, a lot of them I guess are replicas of buildings that are, I mean, when you're in the UK and you're going by buildings that are 900 years old plus. If you're going to be creating plastic models of that, it's certainly it's going to be much different than what a North American building looks like now.
Yeah, well, that matter of fact was mentioned at one time by one of our colleagues here at the CMR, Noni. He was looking at some buildings. He said, those buildings, you got to take out things out of them because he said they do not fit the landscape of the Americans. And he didn't like the model for whatever reason.
That's what Fowler kits, something like that.
There's quite a few different types in there. It's some European manufacturers in some of the models that you can buy. Mainly into, like in the trains and that type of thing. You look at Kiwi, for example, you will have a lot of their stuff that technically is also American. because it's used that way. But others, no, it would be, and matter of fact, some of those kits are smaller in size than the actual HO.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
not by much, but enough to see the difference.
The other excursion train that we saw was up in Hobbyworks, Scotland.
Oh yeah.
That was a steam train, and you'll see from the video. One of the videos, I don't know if you'll put it in there, but it was a cool morning, and they just started out. And this is again is an excursion train. It runs on its own line, but it's right beside the modern British rail system. So we were able to catch both excursion and modern. We happened to be walking down the platform and bumped into a lady and she said, "Oh yeah, my train is going to be here in 10 minutes or something." So quickly went up on the walkway over the track and got the British train coming into the normal station that's used day to day. Got it coming into the station and then leaving. That was a commuter train. And then right next to that was our steam excursion train. And one of the days we were filming it, it was on the cool side, and just as they started out, they decided to go down the steam, so all of a sudden you lost sight of the steam locomotive in this cloud of steam, and then all of a sudden it emerges from the steam and comes by. So we did get some good film video footage of it, but yeah,
it's an experience of a lifetime.
It was great. I mean, both my brother and I, we were like kids in a candy store, being able to catch this. And,
like I know what I just don't know what.
You know, it was just you were in the past and you were in the present, and when we were now we're catching the two different types of trains. So
it keeps you busy.
Oh yeah.
But it's a good experience to have, because now you can really make a comparison between Canada, United States, and England.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's different over there.
Their costs for railroad transportation, as far as passenger, is it a big difference technically with Canadian and American?
Well, you know, I think the big difference there is heavy government subsidy, more so than what we get here in Canada. A good example is Winnipeg and their rapid transit system authority. To me, the money could have been much better spent on an LRT system.
Right.
They gave up rail right-of-ways that were in existence that are now, bicycle paths and walking paths instead of an LRT. And yet we keep on saying, if you're commuting, carpool, that type of stuff. Whereas in Europe, they're so used to using trains on a day-to-day basis, it's second nature to them. If I want to go, if I want to go from my cousin's place in Darlington and go up to Whitby, I can go and hop on a train.
But you see, that is in England and UK and Scotland. Now, if you go across, then you end up in the European
Mainland Europe.
mainland Europe. You can go from one country to another in the same train.
Exactly.
Case in point, the Orient Express.
Exactly. And I mean, that's a special train. It probably costs a little bit more than the normal commuter trains. But yeah, you can get on a train in England, go under the English Channel, come up in France, and continue on to wherever you want to go.
Yeah. So definitely, yeah, the use of trains, other than for freight,
Yeah.
for passengers, is probably greater in Europe than it is here.
I mean, if any of our viewers get a chance to look at any of the British rail videos that are, I've looked at a few on YouTube and stuff that are, you follow in the cab of a train from wherever, two different points, and they're traveling at pretty good rates of speed. And like I said earlier, you don't have level crossings on any of them.
No.
And it's a different thought process over there as to, the importance of commuter rail service. I mean, their freight system is good as well, but you tend to spend more time looking at their passenger setups.
Yeah, the freight, which could be a very good inspiration to planners here in Canada and United States, how to do those things happen. Well, I can see that you had a beautiful trip.
Oh yeah, it was
Now
still a blast.
we're sharing it with the viewers,
Yes.
and hoping that they enjoy the videos and so on. Because, for us modeling trains, it doesn't really matter what kind of train it is.
No, it's a lot of fun.
Oh yeah.
That's the main thing is we enjoy what we're doing in modeling trains, and occasionally if we get to see real ones, that's good too.
Yes, it is. Well, folks, that was the segment on the UK's Well, Peter, that was fantastic.
Yes,
It's a lot of nice footage and so on.
most enjoyable trip.
Yes, and maybe the viewer may not have noticed, but I would point to them that the photo of the month, this month, all the photo that you took during your trip.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit different as far as photo of the month is concerned.
Yep.
We encourage you to come in next month,
Yes.
and join us at the Frog and Diamond.
Frog and Diamond for Christmas.
For Christmas. And then after that, we'll start with season 6 in January.
Yes.
So,
Happy modeling.
yep. So till then, good time and see you then.
Yep.